Hello and welcome to the BeamNG Drive Festival of Speed, where we have a selection of cars taking on the legendary Goodwood hill climb stage, and we start with a Satsuma race car that I didn't really want to get off the line particularly well. This vehicle being driven by Speed Beast. Now the cars are in theory going to get gradually faster as we go through, so this will be the benchmark time for the subsequent vehicles to try and beat. It's a short run through this Goodwood course, but it is definitely a challenging run. That is for sure. We head to Morecambe. It's a big lock up from the Satsuma. Speedbeast gets away with it. The braking zones are tricky, the course is narrow, and there is an awful lot of things that are waiting to claim your car if you make a little bit of a mistake. Through the flint wall we go for the Satsuma. It's small and light. This car doesn't quite have a huge amount of power as we slide a little bit towards the hay bales, but everything is okay. The final corner flat out in a lot of the cars, probably will be in this, as it is the Satsuma round. The final corner, the sprint to the line, it's across the 57.8 is the first benchmark. A solid benchmark time for the Satsuma. Speed Beast clips the hay bale. Well, now it's going to need some extensive repairs. I think it's the end of the... It just about still drives. It is the end of the Satsuma. Up next, we have got the Burnside. This is the Aero Coupe, being driven by Amy. An unusual engine in this one. Has a big inline 8. Do not see very many of those. Of course, it has a good chunk of power for the era and everything, but it is very old. You can see the suspension is rather bouncy. It bounces about on the line. It's excited to go. It's not just the suspension being all sorts of wobbly, but the Burnside is off. It is underway. It's likely to beat the Satsuma to the first corner, we would expect, and indeed it is going a smidge faster. We're under 10 seconds already. It's better off the line. It has the Satsuma sort of struggled to get going, but this is where the Burnside might have a bit of power, but it is going to struggle. The very long gears in this car probably don't help it around this course, and it is, after all, very heavy. It's lost a little bit of time. It's lost a bit of time to that Satsuma as we head. It looks so big on this course. It's such a wide car down here. The flint wall is coming up next, and is almost in the hay bales. I'm gonna say there was a couple of attempts at turning. It got it turned in a very bit of a wobble on the exit. It's lost some time. Burnside struggling again. It looks rather boat-like trying to get up this course. It has been close to the hay bales. I mean, you'd hope the power would eventually kick in. It is quite heavy though, as it makes a run towards the line. It's a 104.0 for the car. It's not the biggest surprise in the world that something like this would struggle on such a technical stage. It is a fantastically wacky vehicle and very unusual engine. These older cars, there were all sorts of interesting configurations that were tried over the years that have long since gone out of favour. Attempts at donuts, I think, were trying to be made. The long gears not helping it, and there we go. There is just about a donut going on. It's got a little bit of right. Thankfully, those posts are drive-throughable. The wonders of Beam, as is the camera. But an interesting run, but it'll have to settle for that 1 minute time. Up next, we have got a stock car. We're sticking with the real classic vehicles. This Blue Buck being driven by Joe. Again, lots of power. Another car with very, very long gears. In fact, so long gears, it struggles to get going. These wouldn't normally have to deal with a standing start. We head through the first section. It is faster than the Satsuma once again, as we would expect from a car. Big slide. The Blue Buck wiggling all over the road, but it is all gathered back up before it finds its way onto the grass. Now, this is where the power really should help as we blast down to Morecambe. Bit of a lock-up under brakes through there. It's lost a smidge of time to the Satsuma through all of that section. It's down, but it's still very, very close as we head up towards that flint wall. It's a big car to thread through this section, and you're certainly not going to be even contemplating getting close to full throttle, and it's gaining time. The power, I think, of the stock car is helping it. It might be a big handful through the corners, another big slide from the machine, but it has got a lot more horsepower than the Satsuma. It's got a lot more weight to lug around, but a lot more power as we cross the line. It's lost a little bit. I think the big slides might have cost it a smidge of time, but it's still good enough. It's still good enough to take the to take the lead. A 57.1, not a bad time at all on the run up the course. The long gears make it a little bit awkward, but it is going to have some more attempts at celebratory donuts, or some sort of celebratory donuts from the car. It's actually a little bit uncooperative to get the vehicle. Oh, and now there's a lot of smoke. That doesn't look like tyre smoke. It seems the blue puck, that might be clutch. I think there may be some clutch issues as the blue puck will come to a rest. It was a spectacular run up the course. Yep, I would get the doors open and get as much of the, the smoke out of it. A spectacular run for the big classic race car. It'll lead the way. It'll lead the way for now, although the cars are going to get quicker from here on out. This is the classic K-Series, a race spec car being driven by Stevie. With rear-wheel drive, relatively light, good chunk of power. We're expecting this to go faster than an old stock car. It will launch itself off the line, no issues for this one. We haven't got crazy long gears, we haven't got slightly stalling engines. We blast towards the first checkpoint, and it is going to be quicker. It's no big surprise. 8.3 is actually pretty good at speed for the K-Series. More big sliding from the cars as we head through that second corner. K-Series gets away with it, doesn't lose too much time. We're on the brakes, no lock-up this time, and it is going very, very quick. It's very close to the hay bales on the outside. It's going incredibly quickly now. The flint wall, how brave dare you be coming into this section. It'll be on the brakes, and again playing it so dangerously with the hay bales. There was a wiggle on the exit. It's going very quickly indeed. It's too quick. It's too quick into the penultimate corner. There's a lot of understeer went on in there. The K-Series just could not get turned. It smacked the wall pretty hard, actually, in all of that one. That is going to be a DNF. That is going to take... it's going to take some cleanup. We have to move the rather wrecked, the rather damaged. It's an easy mistake to make, just carrying that little bit too much speed through these corners. Understeered, clonked the wall, and by the time you've realised you're going too quick into the corner, it's very difficult to slow it down. Up next, we have got the Mistal. This is a Super 1600 kit car. It is front-wheel drive in this, the first of the front-wheel drive vehicles to run up the course. But, well, it's relatively modern. Small and agile is definitely what you want. The power may be let's say lack of power. I say lack of power in relative terms. It's off and underway towards first corner. Front-wheel drive is going to struggle a little bit in terms of outright acceleration. It's going to go quicker, but we are, of course, comparing it to the stock car. It's actually almost a second down on that K-Series. Runs a little bit wide. I mean, it's on slick tyres, but at the end of the day, it is a rally car. If you do wander a little bit wide over the grass, you'll hopefully get away with it a smidge. Under braking we go. You can see the car diving around on the suspension. We are up a couple of seconds now up on that stock car's time as we head towards the flint wall. Are we going to see any more near misses? No, it was actually quite neatly done for Inca through this section. Don't understeer into hay bales through this, and it is nice and clean for the Mistal. It uses as much speed as it can up towards the final corner, flat all the way towards the finish line. It's going to be a more challenging benchmark here, 53.82 for the Mistal. Good run for the kit car. In all of that, a solid run. Yeah, it's maybe slight lack of power will hinder its top speed, but certainly not too bad. And next contender, we have got the Satsuma. This is the Super Touring version. A little bit bigger turbo than comes on from stock. We're talking about 380 horsepower in this car. Certainly by no means as crazy powerful as some of the other cars that will go up here, but still, it's a good amount of power in a relatively lightweight frame. Another front-wheel drive car to tackle a lot of fire being spat out of the back of the vehicle. So yeah, front-wheel drive will be a little bit weaker down towards this first corner, and it is across the sort of timing bits. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's faster than the Mistal down this section. It powers towards Morecambe. The Super Touring car has got a decent amount of straight line speed. The more impressive thing, very late on the brakes through the next corner, and the time is good. The time is very good. In fact, it's going quicker than perhaps expected towards the flint wall for this. Again, won't be flat out through there. There's a bit of a wobble from the car, but it's certainly making time. Everyone being wary through that sort of second to last corner, having already claimed one victim. Is almost on the grass for the turn in for the final corner. So sprint to the line for the Super Touring car. It crosses it. That's a quick time. First car sub 50-second run up here. The Pazima Super Touring, a 48.8. That is a quick benchmark to be laying down. Up next, we have got a lot of smoke. We have the Speaker race car. This one driven by Danger Man. It does like to burn the tyres up. That is for sure. Big rear-wheel drive, big power in this one, of course, and it will get off the line, leaving some more 11s on the road. It's fine. It shot itself, a little bit of a lock-up though, into the first corner. It's going quicker than the Super Tourer, but that's not. Oh, it's on the grass. It's not crazy surprising. It's always likely to launch a bit faster there. It's what can it do through the rest of the course. Down towards Malcolm we go with the car. It is on the brakes and the time is down. It actually lost some ground through there, and it's big twitch. Big twitch. Danger Man did well to recover and get it back pointing the right way, but it's certainly on the limit of grip. Past the flint wall we go, and it's not looking. It's been a spectacular run. There's another lock-up, but didn't end up in the wall. Just got very oversteering on the exit. It's been spectacular. It's not been the cleanest of runs for the car. It's around the final corner, blast up towards the line. It is not going to be getting close to the time set by that Super Touring car, but it was a spectacular run. There is no denying that one as it heads into and goes the wrong way round the holding area. There'll be some celebratory donuts. It's definitely fitting for this car to do some. It's got the best celebratory donuts so far. And as we head to the halfway mark of this of this little tournament, it is the Pazima Super Touring that will lead the way. A nice healthy margin for the moment, though, over that Speaker race car driven by Danger. Very close between that and the Mistral. You're only talking a couple of tenths of a second difference between those. The Blue Buck will sit in fourth. Interesting to see how close the Satsuma actually got to the big classic stock car. The Aero Coupe, while very cool, yeah, not the fastest thing in the world when it comes to climbing up this hill. In the K series, had a fair bit of a shunt. Up next, we have got a Formula car. It's not the craziest, it's not the most powerful of Formula cars, but these are still going to be fearsome contenders. This is the Formula Ibisu. This one being driven by Amy. So we're going to have a lot of grip in the corners. Where it might lack is a bit of straight line speed. It doesn't have the sheer power of some of the other cars. We head down towards the first corner. It is a good run. It is a good run through there. It's under 8-second run to the first corner, but these longer straights are where it is potentially going to struggle. We will run towards the next corner, and it's lost a bit of time. It's lost that time to the Super Touring car, and it's that. I say the Super Touring is surprisingly fast in a straight line. We head up towards the flip wall, very close to the hay bales on the turn, and you've kind of got to be. It's stayed about the same time. It's still almost a second down, though, as we round the penultimate corner. Again, this is where the power or lack of power may come in to show for the Formula car as it heads up across the line. It's under the 50-second mark, but it cannot match. It cannot match that touring car. Still, a 49 is not a bad time whatsoever. I hope you are prepared to be deafened. We have probably the loudest car on the grid next. The Hondo R2K LM being driven by Gliska. It can do better burnouts than most. It is a deafeningly loud race car, this one. Lots of power, rear-wheel drive, decent amount of grip, in theory at least, for this machine. But will it be able to beat some of the other crazy cars that have gone so far? Up towards the first corner we go, and it is up. As expected, really. The Super Touring car just was never going to be rapid off of the line. The question is, we know that Pazima was faster later on. Will the Hondo be able to do anything about it as he heads towards Malcolm for the first time? It is staying almost 2 seconds clear at the moment, although it's got a bit wide. Doesn't end up in trouble, but would have not quite been able to get the power when they wanted to as head through the flint wall. It is neat and tidy, maybe a little bit careful. Not a bad idea, and certainly you can see the vehicle's lost a little bit of time through that section. The Honda, though, certainly fast down these straights when it gets it right, heading through the final corner. Not quite a hint of oversteer, it's across the line and it's going to take the lead. It's close, though. It is close, the R2K. It's just under a second clear up at the front. It had a good start, a little bit of an iffy middle sector, but as far as volume goes, it is definitely one of the most spectacular cars here. Up next, Rusky is driving a 200BX Evo, a sort of modern reimagining of the 200BX. It will fire itself off the line down towards the first corner. A little bit, I think there's a little bit of attempt at some burnouts, but it just didn't quite want to do it. Across the timing loop for the first section is not a terrible start. That kind of highish 8 second, but it's certainly not matching the Hondo through this section. We head now down the straight. It looks quick, but certainly not as fast as some of the cars we have seen on the brakes. It's got to be quite early on the brakes for the 200BX, and it's certainly showing. Well, there's a big, I think it hit a little bump on the outside of the course. We saw that the speaker have issues through there. I've seen a couple of cars have issues on the exit of Molecombe, kind of bouncing and sliding, and it's certainly another slide through the flint wall. You do not want to be going sideways through the flint wall. That's a terrifying place to have moments. The 200BX struggling a little bit, just did not have the grip, does not have the traction. It might have the power, but it's not going to be fast enough. It's a 54.4. It was a bit of a, I say a bit of a sketchy run. That might be a smidge unfair. The car looked difficult to drive on this course, that is for sure. It was moving and bouncing about all over the place, twitching about. Good run to keep it in one piece. We start to move to some really serious machinery here. This is the SBR4 hill climb car, driven by Lado. It is our first all-wheel drive machine. Of course, all-wheel drive traction is going to help you off the line. It is a huge thing on a very, very short stage. That can be very useful indeed. The SBR4 will roar its way towards the first time. It's going to be fastest through here. No surprise at all. Actually, I mean, the Hondo, remarkably impressive considering. It's a massive slide for the SBR4 through the next corner on the grass. Gathers it all back up in time, though. Can use a lot of its power down towards Molecombe, and it is going quicker. It's close. It's close. It's only 0.2 of a second up, but it's still there as we now run up towards the flip wall. It looks fast. It looks fast once it can get the power down. Through the wall we go. No problem at all. Again, a little twitch we see from a few cars. The time is good for the hill climb car. A little wide through the penultimate corner, but making the most of all of that power as we head through the final turn. It's a sprint to the line, and it's going to be quicker again. A 47.1 for the SBR4, as it will. Oh, something's happened. Oh, Lado's hit a tree. There's a second one that hit a hay bale after the finish line. Oh, well, it has got the lead. It's going to also. It's done more damage, I think, than the ETK. Up next, we move to another hill climb car. I mean, these are the serious contenders. The Vivace, driven by Shadow, will also rocket itself towards the first corner. Not quite as committed on the turn-in as we saw from the SBR4. It's close. It's decent, though, through that section. It will now accelerate away down towards the Molecombe corner. We've seen a lot of cars moving about, and it's good in terms of time here from Shadow. It's very fast as we head towards the wall, although the SBR4 wasn't amazing through the first sector. It got quicker later on, and it's a little bit careful through the flip wall, and you can see on the time, again, the penultimate corner is a little bit of caution through here. It's very difficult. It's so easy to overdrive the cars at some of these sections, but it might just cost in the time as it will head towards the finish line, and it cannot beat the SBR4. It was close for a while. Yeah, I think the final section just maybe a little bit too cautious. Maybe the car just did not quite have the grip to get away with it, but it is down in terms of time. Impega is up next with the Scintilla race car. We move back to a rear-wheel drive machine. It's let's face it, not going to be quite as ridiculous off the... Still got a lot of grip off the line as we head towards the first split. Not quite sub 7 seconds here. Still, you know, impressive performance. And I do respect a good orange and black colour scheme, of course. There is a lot of straight line speed in this car. The bigger question is whether it's going to be able to use its power, use its straight line speed. Again, we're close through the first section. It is just down by 0.2. The Scintilla will be immensely fast accelerating, but it's trying to get the big race car through these corners, and it's lost a little bit. The SBR4 was so monstrously fast through this section. Will Inca be able to extract some of that straight line speed around the final corner? It is rapidly approaching the finishing line. It gains some time, but it's not quite going to be enough. It's still a 47.6 for the Scintilla. A great run. It just did not quite have the grip of the mighty hill climb cars, or maybe quite the confidence you get with the all-wheel drives. Now, speaking of crazy aero, certainly the maddest looking car that we have here today. This is the Mondolo hill climb. We've got huge splitters, diffusers, canards, end bits, all sorts are going on with this vehicle. It is a serious contender, a serious challenger. It is rear-wheel drive, of course, which means it is all manners of sketchy as we head through the first section. It is a little bit wide, and a wheel on the grass is not going to help this car as it's snapping and twitching its way through the next couple of corners. It has got immense amounts of acceleration and straight-line speed when you can get the power down, and that is the big problem with this car. Fire coming out of the exhaust is another huge sideways moment. Still, Joe is fighting for control with this vehicle up towards the flip wall. It's probably not going to be great for time at all of this. It's across. It's still a second and a half down on the leaders. Oh, it's hit the same wall that the ETK did earlier. This time it was with the back of the car that the Mondolo was. I mean, wild is the best way to sum it up. It was Joe struggling for grip the whole way up the course. Back end just kicked out at the wrong moments. It's not the heaviest of damages, but that is the end of that car. Now we have the really serious stuff. Longbow is driving the RX 792P. We have got full-on crazy high-powered rear-wheel drive prototype vehicle to tackle the course. But at the end of the day, you've got to make it to the finish line. It howls its way off the line, for want of a better word. Can it match the all-wheel drive cars towards the first? Yep, yes it can. Yes it can. It has got the traction. It has got the grip. It is ridiculously fast as we run through the first corner. To maintain that speed all the way down the straight can be late on the brakes. You can see it twitching around a little bit, and again we go it's going absolutely ridiculous in terms of speed, but that was so close to clonking a hay bale and ending up out of the run past the flint wall. It is going absolutely ridiculous speeds as we head, I think it's a little bit wide, through that second to last corner. It's a bit of a twitch on the way to the finish line, but it's a monstrous time, a 41.3 for the RX. That is going to be, well, it's some 6 seconds down the road. The SBR4 was an impressive vehicle. It was an impressive run. It does not quite match the RX. Another one going the wrong way around. The end zone, but still, that is a hell of a time. And this is the final car, and potentially the only car that could stand a challenge at the Vertex hill climb, being driven by Speed Beast. Now we've got all-wheel drive. It is quick to the first sector. That's not a big surprise, although a fair bit of understeer. It's not quite as composed as we saw from that RX. We've got understeer initially and a bit of oversteer. It's monstrously powerful. We're talking well over 1,000 horsepower in this one for the straight line speed bits, but it's lost some of that advantage to the prototype towards the flint wall. This section, probably the Vertex is going to struggle a little bit more. I mean, it's got huge amounts of downforce and sort of double front wings and whatnot. It's almost a second down as we head through these final couple of corners, but it's neat enough through the penultimate turn. And here comes the power of the car. It's clipped a hay bale. It's lost some of the air. Oh, it almost did it. Commitment from Speed Beast at the end. It almost got it. It lost bits of its rear bumpers. Clipped it, maybe? I'm not completely sure. But the camera's gone a bit haywire. It's a big celebratory donut. It was a hell of an effort. Yeah, the rear bumper came off as he clipped the hay bale. It was a brilliant effort from the Vertex, but in the end it just lost out. The RX was too fast, and Longbow would take victory with that. Speed Beast would have to settle for second in a spectacular run with the Vertex. Lado would get on the podium. The SBR4 hill climb car would see off the challenges. The Scintilla would be fourth, fractionally ahead. The Hondo actually put in a really good run. I'm impressed with the R2K. They did really well on the 48.0, while the Vivace would have to settle for sixth. The Bazima Super Touring car ends up in seventh. Impressive showing, actually, from a front-wheel drive car. To only be a couple of seconds down on the SBR4 hill climb was far faster than expected. That would be ahead of the Formula Ibisu, driven by Amy. The Speaker race car was one of the most spectacular and crazy runs, and it would just beat the Super 1600 Mistral. Then it would be the 200 BX Evo, another car that looks difficult to drive on the way up the course. Ahead of the Blue Buck stock car, Satsuma race vehicle would finish 13th, and finally the Aero Coupe. While very cool, of course, is something quite different. Mondolo hill climb, and an unfortunate, both the Mondolo and the ETK found this is pretty much the same hay bale, slightly different ways than finding it. Both unlucky, would DNF from their runs. Well, there we go. That will be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this. Something a little bit different. There's a lot of effort getting all of this to be working. And thank you very much to Amy for actually making this Goodwood. Well, I say making, converting this Goodwood hill climb map. It's a fantastic map on Assetto Corsa. You can play around with, and yeah, Amy converted it so that we could use it on Beam. I will put a link to all the mods used. Loads and loads and loads of mods used in this one. Will be a link to all the mods used in the description if you want to go and download them yourself. If you want to have a go with this map, I will give you a link to Amy's Discord also in the description. You can go on there to have a go with it. But there we go. That is going to be it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.